Welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Peter Martin, and I'm delighted to say my guest this week is one of the most skillful players I've ever had the opportunity to play in a football field with, Gerry McCabe. Welcome to Straight Talk, and I'm going to start with asking you this question. Skillful Tanner ball players, midfielders with that technical ability, are they thin in the ground in Scotland? Was there more than a few Gerry McCabes running about when you were playing?
First of all, Peter, thanks for that. I know you've called me worse when we played with Bigler. Anyway, yeah, I think so. When we played, I played with many players. We had about 5 or 6 players in the team who could all the ability, skill, could beat men, pass the ball, had that natural ability. I think you're right. I think it is thin on the ground now. I feel that the game sort of went in the more athlete side of it. There is players out there, but I think it all starts at a young age, Peter. I think the kids, we've got to let the kids go and play football. I think they get coached too early. I think they've got to, first of all, be comfortable with a ball, get out like we done, hit the ball off a ball, or dribble, try and beat 3 and 4 men. I know that's. They say the game's changed, but that should never change. Because this is the players that bring the crowds in.
Maybe society's changed, because you mentioned something there which is quite simply something that unconsciously you would have been doing that many people consider practice, which is you would have been out on the streets where you were brought up, working with the ball on your own, or maybe up the park with your mates.
That's it. As soon as you can finish school, and whatever you do, any old clothes that you had on right away up the park. And within half an hour after the schools coming out, there'd be about 20 people over the park. Everybody just playing football, want to play football. As you say, out in the streets, gate to gate. You don't see that now. I know I was saying earlier, but most of the kids, it's all organised teams that organise the training. But that was our enjoyment. That was that was our entertainment. And everybody was involved. It doesn't matter if you could play or not. Everybody got a game at football. And it was just... and I think that's where you learn, to be comfortable with the ball. Everybody wanted the dribble, didn't they? Everybody wanted to beat 3 and 4 men and score a goal, and that's where I felt the more you done that, the more natural it became to you.
Yeah.
Whereas I think we tell kids now how to pass the ball and how to beat a man and things like that, but let them go and do it. Let them go and make their own mistakes. Let them go and try and, as I say, beat 3 and 4 men at training, and they'll find out. They'll realise themselves, when to pass the ball, and that it's all learning. But you're right, we had to do it, and that was our main entertainment when, at night time after school, and that's how at that time there were so many players who could dribble and beat men.
Here's a question for you then. When you were playing, because you developed a certain style, was it encouraged? Did you have managers who said, I know what I'm getting with Gerry McCabe, so I want you to do that and hopefully understand the right time to pass? Were you allowed to flourish?
Yes. He just says, go and play, you'll see the game. Maybe if you'd overdone it, you try to maybe beat a player 2 or 3 times, you say, right, you've already beat him, get the ball in and that. But I think he knew then, as soon as you were by, when I was younger, Peter, I always played in the wing. I was, believe it or not, I was a wee bit quick.
Now, I'm at a disadvantage here, because I'm usually 2 yards away from you, and I'm thinking to myself, this is a story I haven't heard. But again, I mean, I'm not talking about a vast age difference between us, but I certainly knew of you before I get into journalism, but I could not have said, oh, I saw Gerry McCabe playing in the wing. So that again opens up a different time and a different player from the one I know now.
Well, that's everybody could run at school. They always had a wee bit of pace, but because I had, probably a wee bit, when I had my belt, I could go by people, I'd get crosses in. And when I started off amateur, I played in the wing. When I went junior, I played in the wing. When I went to Hibs, I was a winger.
Yep.
But then when I left Hibs and I come back, Craig Brown put me in the middle of the park when I signed for Clyde, and I enjoyed it. To be fair, I enjoyed it, and I had this sort of I thought, I think Craig seen something in me that I could pass the ball and I had vision.
Can you remember that conversation that he had with you to explain that?
Yeah, he knew I was a winger. Because up at the coaching, Craig at the time was one of the coaches up at Largs, and he'd see me because you were involved in a lot of the functions and things like that. When I'd get freed with Hibs and I'd went to Canada, and my mate Jim Boyd at the time, Jim was at Clyde, a good mate, and he brought me to Clyde. He says, "Boss wants to have a look at you, Craig." I says, so I went in, and my first training session that night, after we played a wee game, and he put me in the middle of the park, and I'm like that, and I'm saying, and I enjoyed it, because you're on the ball more, at wingers, you've got to get fed the ball and that, and wingers, you can have good days and bad days.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people don't understand the fact, and this is great from me listening to you here, they won't understand the fact that there's a different perspective in every position you play. Some people say, they've moved them back to being a centre half or a sweeper, and they can see the game in front of them.
Yes,
you would have had a one-dimensional attitude. It's like John Gagan who said, I was a winger, I ran as fast as I can until I saw a white line, and then I wished it over that way.
Oh, I remember John, that's right, John was a winger. But funny enough, Davy Cooper, Davy, great player, Davy was, when we played at the Hamilton District team, Davy was a midfield player and I was a winger.
Wow.
And Davy his vision was great, passing ball, you get many a chances, he scored goals for fun. Davy played in the middle of the park, but then when Davy went professional, I think he went to Fairholme, then Davy became the outstanding winger. We all know Davy Cooper, that was his position.
Yeah.
And it was just funny in that then I reverted, and I wouldn't say Davy was blessed with pace.
Yep.
But that one he could just half a yard and play balls in, and the damage it would cause from the wide areas. And yet when I went to midfield, I'd say, because I wanted the ball, I was a greedy guy. Always didn't matter who was on it, I wanted the ball.
Yeah.
I wanted the ball, and I'm saying, and I just developed in there, and I think big credit to Craig Brown, because even when I went to Canada, I played in the wing.
Were there players? It's great because I didn't realise that you started out as a winger, and obviously, signed by clubs on that basis. Were there players that you modelled yourself on or idolised that you wanted to be before you become the Gerry McCabe that we all know and love?
Well, I used to watch West Germany at the time, a guy called Wolfgang Overath.
Oh, yes.
I'm a left-footed player, and I loved him. I just loved watching him. And Paul Brighton, I know Paul Brighton was a full-back, And coming up, the great Brazilian team, the 70s, I was only 14 at the time. But you watch guys like Gerson, then later on the midfield players that they had, Zico and that. I thought Zico was tremendous. You always try to, look at the midfield players, and that was the position you play. They'll end up playing in that. And watching much of the great wingers, the Jorginhos and all that, it was always the midfield players that I sort of kept my eye in, and just saying, and watch the great countries of the world that were the top midfield players they had.
Yeah.
And I always, the one that always sticks out in my mind, I was saying, it was Wolfgang Overath. I thought he was magnificent.
Yeah. You don't need to convince me, Gerry, because at the end of the day, there are only two real numbers. You're either a 10 or a 7. The rest of them for me are just the supporting cast.
That's it. They're also rans, as they say.
That'll get you pelters. Who were the players in the early days? Because you mentioned, and we're talking about the technical players that are great. When you were kicking off, when you were starting your career, you're at Clyde. Who were the players that you looked at, you played with, that you thought, oh, great?
Well, before that, Peter, when I signed with Hibs, I played the amateur team at Tolstar at Edelwood, and with some good players.
Yeah.
Jim Moulton, Billy Holmes, and we all grew up together, and we all had different positions. But when I went to Hibs, I went to Paul Kemet Juniors, but it was all, I don't know if you remember the young guy called Tommy Coggle, who played with Queen of South and Hamilton, great wee winger, but he could play anyway. Tommy just, always great in the ball, and I always liked to watch, because he could beat men for fun. But when I went to Hibs, the most players I was impressed with was a boy called Ali McLeod.
Yeah.
You remember? And Alec Edwards.
Yes.
Middle of the park.
Alec Edwards played with Dunfermline as well. He was a fabulous player.
Well, when I went to Hibs, I'm in training with these guys, and you're...
Arthur Duncan, John Brownlee,
Arthur Duncan,
Jimmy
John
Rock.
Brownlee. Yeah, Jimmy Rock wasn't there.
Right.
John Blackley,
Right.
Paddy Stanton.
Wow.
Up front, they had Joe Harper,
Yeah.
Willie Murray, and God rest him, Bobby Smith and that. What a team they had, you know, but I always admired, I always watched wee Alec, wee Mickey, maybe move, maybe about 10 yards circumference, and Mickey just get the ball, ping it about and zip it about. Where Ali was more of the wee nutmeg.
Yeah.
Beat men and up, put wee passes in and that get the ball, you know. And I'm saying brilliant, you know, and you're Dantigan playing the same team as him, although we were the reserves. But to brought up with these guys, watching these guys playing, and yet Ali Edwards never got a cap.
Yeah.
And yet, you know, he's one of the best midfield.
Well, I was going to say to you, you only have to think of some of the players who would easily have 20, 30 caps now.
Yes.
Who at that time were, you know, playing with clubs maybe not as fashionable as Celtic and Rangers, but they were great players. That Hibs side that you're talking about, for me, if it hadn't been for Celtic, would have won 2 or 3 titles.
Oh, definitely, they were there. That was it. You know, when you look at the international they had injuries at the time. Pat Stanton was out for a while. I think Slip was out for a while. You know, but the big Tony Higgins, big Tony. Then Graham Fife came. Remember, Graham Fife came from Rangers. What a player Graham was. You know, winger ability. And you're just like, these guys. You're saying, I need to go somewhere to try and get to this level. You know.
Tell me about Tony, because of the one. There are many people in life that I always think to myself how great it is to be able to spend 2 or 3 hours in their company, and I never tire of being in Tony Higgins' company.
Tony was one of these guys. It was just a one-off. It was just, when I first went in there, we used to travel from Queen Street, right, myself, Tony Higgins got on it, Graham Fife got on there, and John Blackman, all these guys got on at Falkirk, so we're on the same train. And that's a story. I remember we signed Ali Scott from Rangers, right?
Yes.
So Big Tony was always winding you up and setting you up, and I'll tell you a story about this. So we're sitting in the train, and Tony's sitting across from me, and we're travelling through, but I didn't know Ali Scott was on the train, you know, they saying Ali sitting. So Tony's like, imagine signing Big Ali Scott. But he's hopeless, isn't he? I'm going like, I know, you know, and Ali was losing his hair at the time, and going like, he says, Big Paul D, and all that goes, I know, I've had to say, yeah, it's hopeless, isn't he? You know, because Rangers don't want him. You know, and I'm going like that, and Tony was winding me right up, and he's going like that. So what do you think? He said, big cue ball. I says, actually, it looks like a big cue ball, and all. I'm going like that. Next minute, Ali just leaned over my shoulder, and he goes, is that right, wee man?
It's your worst nightmare, isn't it?
And I goes like that, I said, I knew he was right, but I knew you were there. Oh, he caught me. Then there was another time, Peter, right, we were doing the first team against the reserves, so Tony, myself, we were on the reserves, so it was a full-scale game, you know, and the boss, Eddie Turnbull, was getting his shape of the team and all that, so we're doing these moves and that, so the ball come over, right, and I let it go, and they put the ball in the net, you know, just, and Big Higgins said, what are you doing? I said, I thought we were passive, I thought we were just sort of let the move happen and all that.
Yeah.
This is the first team against the reserves, don't let them beat us, by the way, never beat us, don't let them beat us, right? So, the game's going on, the next ball comes out, I booted it right up the terrace, and I just volleyed out the terrace. I turned round, I could hear, see Eddie Turnbull, the boss running down for the other side of the park. Hey, you McNabe! And I'm like, it's not me anyway. You McNabe! And he's getting closer and closer. And he goes, you Victor McNabe! And I'm going, who's Victor McNabe? So by this time he's really in my face, he's got, I told you to let it happen. I told you to let things go, right? I'm trying to work something here. And I goes like that. And I says, he turned in, and Big Tony's leaning against the post like that. What are you doing, me, man? I tell you what I am. So after that, I think that was my career over. Eddie Turnbull was just, he forgot my name after 2 weeks. Then Tony stuck me right in, you know.
Victor.
Big Tony's like that. Doesn't listen to you, don't think like that. But he knew he'd done it. Never the boy says that. But it was just, what a great guy. See, he was saying, it was going through in the train with him, travelling back with him, he was just so funny and so intelligent.
Yes.
But he didn't even, he'll never catch you again. He'll not wind me up again. And he always did. He always called me.
Yeah.
Not just me. He was got the young boys and he would do that. And he says, we had, and there was another time, he was the captain of reserves. We're playing down at Queen of the South. We're playing again. So Tony's up for the centre, right? And he's got all the players up. He says, come on. No, up to toss the coin. What are you doing? Up. So the referee, we're all standing in this line. We're not even in our positions. So the referee goes like that, the Big Tony. So he tosses the coin up. He goes, right, shout Habs. Big Tony goes, Habs! The referee just goes like, you know, give him a centre. Please go. Big Tony had something that says, everybody up, everyone up. Wait, not even positions. He says, as soon as they centre the ball, Tora. he was
Just mad.
great.
The other thing is he does run you close for the maddest hairstyle and a chewing gum card. I used to look at him and I'd look at you and I'd think, no, they're unique. They are utterly unique, you know.
He had the big moustache at the time, did you know?
He looks like a Mexican, you know.
But I never had a perm, Peter. I says that people say,
No.
I says, no, honestly.
Was it just one of those hairstyles you thought, oh, bugger it, I'll just get and show everybody how good I am?
Anything for attention.
One of you in Clydebank is just wild.
Oh, I see the pillars. My daughter got me up. So I brought it up and she goes like that. Look what I got for your birthday. And there's a photo like that. And I'm saying, it's the only photo you could have got. You know? Right, and it says, getting it straight here. And I keep saying, that's what you get when you eat your crust, you know, your hair goes. And I remember my dad, when I was at school, my dad goes, you get that haircut. And I've got a photograph of him. I've just got we put the comb across the front and it's just down to about there. And I went for a haircut and I come up and it was, and the guy had actually, it was a short backside, some of it up, that was the one he wants. And I come in and my dad goes, what hairdresser you go? What barber you go? I says, why did you tell me you go? Come with me. To be on the wee bike, dude. And a barber. I said, I'm doing for a haircut. Cut his hair. Right? The guy, honestly, it was a wee up the back. I'm going like that. I said, that's what you call a haircut. And he says, you'll know back here for a few months. I'll do it for a few months. But then as you're right, and I get, my hair started going on, I just thought, that's probably, I thought it was all right at the time because it was in thing.
Don't release that one that your dad got you the haircut. Whatever you do, just leave us with the memory of the 70s. And with that, you've mentioned the Hibs. I don't think I can't wait to see. You've mentioned Cooper, you've mentioned Alec Edwards, you've mentioned some great players. If you were with Craig Brown in that time, was that 77 onwards? 77,
Craig signed me, I come back from Canada 77.
Were you in, and I'm just taking a stab in the dark here, were you in at that time when Archibald was there?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, for God's sake, man. See if I had to say to people, by the way, Steve Archibald was there at Clyde.
Aye.
You're there, who else is there?
Well, you'd Brian Ahern, Fishy, my good friend who's passed away now, Jim Boyd, the guy that got me in there. You had Jerry Marshall, who was a good player. Nearly Hood in that, nearly come then. But you had Johnny Arrow, the goalkeeper.
Yep.
Eddie Anderson. Robert Ferris. The right good side, but I'll tell you what, Brian Ahern was a right good player.
Yeah.
You know, Fishy, his nickname was, but you know, Fishy would go play at the back, then he'd break in the middle of the park, then he'd go, you know. But Stevie was one of these guys, he actually played up front, then he played at the back. And
Stevie Archibald?
Honestly, we had him, he played at centre half, believe me, and he played in the middle of the park. He was just, Stevie and me out, and all the boys were all running around the park. Stevie was just lagging away behind everybody. And I went at it first, what's he up about? You know, what's he not to him with the boys for? He says, he just does that, you know. But see, when you see them playing this Saturday, I tell you what, he's touching. You know, he was only there 5 months, Peter. I signed 4 months. I signed, I think it was September, October, and we played Queen's Park at Hampden on New Year's Day, and he scored the goal, and Billy Mail took him to Aberdeen the next day. But I was only 4 months, and I always thought he was a strange type, you know. He didn't mix with it, but you know, could he play? See when he played, and his touch, and even his head and everything, his awareness all around about.
I thought he was magnificent.
He go to Tottenham with Barcelona, you know.
It was unbelievable. Can I ask you this? Would Gerry McCabe survive in today's game?
I'd like to. I think maybe brought on era now, Peter. You know, with the quota when you're in and you're more or less getting told what to do, positions and all this and that. And I thought maybe my type of player wouldn't because we played off the cuff and you know, you done your own thing. Although we did do a wee bit of defence, was the best of tacklers, but you knew where to go. But you relied more than getting the ball and going producing. You would saying that Jimmy Johnston, Willie Henderson playing these days. Of course they would, because you're in a different era. But would I enjoy the game the same? No, I think my era when I came through, I was glad that I played in that era because of the amount of good players I played with and against.
Yes.
You know, and every team had good players. And
did you think there was more technically gifted players in your era?
Yes, definitely.
How would you defend the criticism from some people in this generation who say, away in Guy's piece, you're just talking nostalgically?
You get that, they'll say that, but and everybody probably the era before us would have said they were better players. They probably were.
Yeah.
They probably were. You know, I just feel now that kids are getting coached too young. A lot of manufactured players. The athletic thing, I know it's changed. The dietitians in and everybody like. We've come away from the skill factor. I think we don't encourage players to take on men now.
Yeah.
You know, and okay, you have got some good players, and they like they'll play the wee 1-2 in the passes, but I think the flair players are few and far between. You know,
my personal opinion is you would survive. You would adapt, because obviously, you know, my defence of someone like yourself is, well, so what? They have to train in a different way. They have to become more athletic. So what? If he's got the technical skills that you have, you would easily survive, because even now, when we maybe play a lesser player, you're still. I mean, what age are you? Forgive me.
I'll be 68 in September.
68.
Yes, in September.
Right. So. Which is a sad indictment on some of the young players that we come up against, and you're still dropping your shoulder at 68 and showing a quick pair of heels. So I think you would have survived. Is there a player in today's game that you look at and you see yourself in? I'm not necessarily telling you to turn around and say, oh, there's a Messi out there, but is there a player that you think, I
was going to say Messi, Peter, but you put me in the
I just blew that right out of the water.
You know who I love watching?
Yeah.
I love watching the boy Foden, you know, his touch and his passing, getting, you know, and he's probably more mobile than me. But you're right about the technical side. I think you would adapt, but would you be under more restrictions? I always felt like Paul Scholes was one of the best midfield players you've seen. Yep. I thought, and I meant he was up at a coaching thing, and I would love to have asked him this question. This was under Ferguson, where he just done his own thing. And you had Keane and Dan Fletcher sitting in the middle of the park. They done the work where he went and get the goals outside the box and done his own thing up there, joined in with the strikers and the wide men. And I would love to have asked him the question, would he have been able to play with that sort of a freedom under a Mourinho? Which I don't think he would have, because I think Mourinho liked, you know, I want you back in, I want you doing this, whereas Ferguson says, you do it, they'll do the defending, you know. Yeah,
it's a good point, actually. Different managers understand.
That's what I felt, Peter, you know, and it depends who the manager, but you'd like to think you had that ability, manager would just let you go and express yourself. You know? I know we keep saying it, but you know, they want these for me, they want you back in, they want you doing this, and they want you doing that. Imagine saying to big Andy Ritchie, I want you chasing back, you know, but give Andy the ball. And
that was the biggest problem though for Andy when he was with Jockstein. It was as soon as the big man had said something to him, Andy Ritchie answered them back, you know. And I would love to have seen Andy Ritchie. Would I love to have seen him toe the party line. He's just a joy to watch.
That's it.
You know, for a fleeting moment, for anybody who can turn round and say they watched an Andy Ritchie or they watched a George Best. You know, at moments when people say, well, they maybe had, you know, cut their career short. But for anybody who saw them in that golden moment, it's great, isn't it?
They'll talk about the best, Johnson, the Maradonas, the Big Andy, you know, the Morton fans, and Cooper, David. They'll talk about these players because they brought a lot of enjoyment to fans, and you know that's the memories they'll have. You know, say what a player he is, what a player, and I don't think you can compare players on that. You know, there's like the Cruyff. I'm looking at some of your photographs of Cruyff, and I've loved Cruyff. You know, and I thought he was just a genius. You know, in his era, and
he could beat a man.
Any way you want it. Anyway, but you know the Cruyff tournament we are still trying to.
Exactly.
But that's the players we'll talk about. We'll be talking about a lot of players in years to come about the players that's playing the present moment. You've got your De Bruyne's, right? I think it's a top player. The boy Foden. You get players now are more team players, are all fitted into players. They get less individuals for me. Playing the game now, you know.
I think we're also in a very lucky period. Well, obviously, I'm not trying to be ageist here, but because you're 68, you've
67, Peter. I'm not 68
heading
yet.
to 68.
A few games to go.
You've witnessed a number of great generations. You know, from Pelé, and then you go through to Cruyff. That generation, you know, you've got Zidane, Maradona. And then, of course, the other aspect of it, which I think we're all thankful that we lived through, was Messi and Ronaldo. You know, and I also count Ronaldo, the Brazilian, in there. But with Messi and Ronaldo, we're part of a generation looking and going, the figures these guys are firing out are just
incredible. These two, you know, I'm a Messi fan, always, you know, but I think the two of us pushed each other to a certain level that, you know, we'll probably never see again.
I don't think so.
Never. Pelé, I only seen the end of Pelé, you know, but they always say to me, there's world class, and they mention players world class. For me, I look at world class players, and the players who separate themselves from the rest of the players, they are the best players of their generation. Well, I would say it was Pelé, although he played in the great Brazilian side. Then after that, for me, it was Cruyff, then Maradona. And, you know, you could put in, I think Ronaldinho was brilliant, you had Zico, but I put them up there with the Maradonas and that, maybe put them in a different bracket below. Then obviously Messi now, and people say, but what about Ronaldo? And I says, I know what you're saying, but for me, the best players, the world-class players are the players of their era. And that's what I say, Messi, but obviously.
Natural ability.
Natural ability, but if you looked, Peter, see if we had 100 people in here and you asked them all to pick their best 11, everybody would be different.
Yeah.
We'd all have a different 11.
Well, here's a tough one for you then.
Right.
And because we regularly play five-a-sides, of the players, the professional players that you've played with, can you pick your five-a-side?
Guys I played with?
Yes. Could you turn around and say to yourself, at their peak, the guys that I played with, could I pick 5 that I'd take into the trenches with me? And I know there are 25 people who are going to call you and say, KB, you want to have a long hard look at yourself, because I'm not in the team.
How could you pick him? How could you pick him? You put me in this spot here.
It's a good one.
One player I would have in my team,
yes,
when it was at Clydebank, you know, Gerry Ronald.
Right.
Gerry Ronald, for the ability of this boy. You know, just he had a no care attitude, you know, Gerry. If he felt like it, he felt like it, you know.
Yeah.
But you guys, different positions, you guys like, you know, Bobby was a striker, Tommy Coyne, intelligent player. Gerry Ronald, I'd love him in my team.
Right.
I'd love a big Kenny Brannigan, because Kenny organising talks and that, you know, because obviously you can't have 5. But you could have 5 and just put the ability, but nobody defended.
You can't have 5 Maradonas, geez, please. you hope to win 32-31. So you've got Kenny. Have you got a keeper?
If I got a keeper, yes.
Who?
Big gal from Clydebank.
Oh, Jim
Gallagher.
Yes, absolutely. I understand that because you know, such a long, great career.
Yeah.
So you've got Gallagher, you've got Brannigan, and by the way, he'll be delighted with that. You've got Gerry Ronald,
Jimmy Fallon in there.
Jim Fallon,
Jimmy Fallon, another midfield player. Would they go for a? Says Gerry, you wouldn't class Gerry as a midfield. Gerry just done his own thing.
Yeah.
You've put me in the spot. I've good midfield players I played with, you know, Stevie Clark, Albert Craig.
Yeah.
You know, in Midley Park, Hussein Brown here. Coop. Well, I didn't play. I played only Hamilton District with Coop.
Right.
You know, I never played in a team with Coop. Where I would have loved to have played with Coop. Aye. Okay, I think Coop would have he'd have had his own team. No, I don't know with Stevie. I know what you're saying, but I think Stevie was one of these ones. You don't know what you get with Steve. But then again, you've pushed me in that one. You've definitely. I'll tell you a player.
Right.
I spoke to him today. John Brogan.
Yes.
John Brogan, St Johnson, goal scorer.
Great player.
Jim Holmes was another. I know I'm picking guys that we could, but I never played the same team as Jim. I played the same team with John Brogan.
By the way, you've got no subs. By the way, so
right, no subs. Right. So you want
Brannigan,
right?
Jim Holmes, Gerry Ronald,
big gal,
and you've got your man up front, John Brogan. There you are. There's your 5.
Right, they're my 5.
Okay, right. That's not a bad 5. I'm sure they'll be absolutely.
I'll get tortured tonight.
You will absolutely get tortured.
Saying that.
The one thing I was going to say to you though, where did you enjoy your football the most?
Clydebank, probably. You know, I loved it. Clyde. I was only there for 2 seasons. I've got a lot to thank for the late boss Craig Brown for giving me that opportunity and put me in the Midley Park.
Yeah.
My longest spell was Clydebank. We just didn't have. You know, I'd love to play the same. I would love to play the same team that David left in '78, and I came in 1980. But a lot of good players there.
Were you in the top flight?
Yes, we got to the top flight. We actually went up as runners up. St Johnson won the league that year, and we went up. But we didn't keep. Obviously, we sold Bobby, Tommy Coyne,
Bobby Williamson. You know, in midfield. We'd Marty, with a right good team, a right good Marty Shoes and Mark Trainer, as I say, Jimmy Fallon, Tony Gervais, Jimmy Given. Yep.
You know, with a right strong Davy Houston and Big Gerry McCabe, with a right, you know, right core, about 15, 16 right top players.
Yeah.
Right.
Play over 200 times for Clydebank.
Was it 200? Was it, Peter?
Yeah.
Well, I'd been there just 6 seasons.
Yeah.
6 seasons, which I just loved. I just wish, you know, we did get to the top flight, but we struggled because we weren't financially, you know, we could go out and buy players. We brought the Stephen brothers, Jack and Charlie. They always wanted to bring through players, and that was a module, you know.
Tell me about the feeling you had then when you watched a Tommy Coyne or a Bobby Williamson go. Did you feel as if maybe there was a move there that you were denied?
Yeah, I just felt he was, when one way it was a compliment, he wanted to build a team around me, but the other hand I was getting held back, and I thought, I went through to Hibs to sign with Hibs under John Blackley and Tommy Craig, and on our way through there, and they were going to go to a tribunal, but I was 28 at the time, 28, 29, and they
playing the best football of your career?
Yeah, I was enjoying. I'd been played in the first division, but I wanted this challenge. I didn't want to be struggling, you know, fighting relegation every year. You know, I'd like to be in a team that maybe made a final, got to a final, or challenged, and I was just ready to sign with Hibs. And John Slip came out and he says, look, the chairman at the time was Kenny Waugh, and he says he's not going to. You don't want to go to a tribunal because he felt Mr. Steamer had people in high places that would pay over the price of what they could afford. I said, look, you know, you maybe don't have to pay that much. And it fell through. I went over to Motherwell. We played. I'd agreed to Clydebank to sign a contract, but I hadn't signed it just because we're in the top flight, and I didn't want to miss out on the top flight. And my first game was against Motherwell on the Saturday, and Motherwell were selling Gerry McAllister and the midfield player, red-headed boy.
To Leicester.
Yes, to Leicester. Two of them went to Leicester.
Yeah, Mauchline,
Ali Mauchline, sorry. Ali Mauchline. So they were selling him. So Tommy McLean had said to me, you know, he was wanting to sign me, but I said, look, they'll need to go to tribunal, you know, if they don't agree a fee. And he goes, just sit tight. And he says, have you signed? I said, no signed, but I've got a gentleman's agreement. And I says, I've been hanging off, and I'd love to have went to him because although I'm a Hamilton brought up, but they're the right good side and going to replace Gerry McAllister or Ali at the time, and I thought, you know, they had a better chance, you know, he's staying in the league, and but that fell through as well. Then when I went back to Clydebank, I just resigned myself. I've no regrets at Clydebank. I loved the time, but I think I stayed maybe a couple of seasons too long.
Did you lose your motivation?
I didn't lose my motivation, you know. I just felt I needed a change and they needed a change. They had to bring something fresh in, you know. I'd been playing at a great level with them, you know. I was playing at the top of my form season in, season out, but I just felt I needed a new challenge, and I think I did. And good question, Peter. I think I was losing my interest, but could I get myself up for these games where I wanted another challenge, and that's when Hamilton came in. But I felt maybe I overstayed my time at Clydebank, and nothing against Clydebank. I just felt I was there too long, then I'd maybe missed the boat at that time. But I went to Hamilton with a couple of great seasons with a right good side there, you know, and we won the league and we got up, you know. John Lambie was the man at the time, but maybe there were disagreements, and the first one in, I was the bee's knees, I was the king of the castle, and this, and me and Alec Taylor, I think, signed round at the same time. Then things just, you know, John, you didn't know what you're getting me, John, you know. And
he was a character.
Oh, he was a character, but you know, and with some top players, with Toby, George McCluskey. What a player. Danny McGrain, Danny came, you know. And I'm saying,
are you pinching yourself?
Yeah, I'm going, well, Danny, you know, I love Danny, you know, he's a player, big Toby. But I knew how good Toby was, and Danny came, but Danny must have been 36 when he came. Something like that, but I tell you what, his fitness was incredible. I remember the first time I seen him, we were in the dressing room before the game, and he opens a bottle of Iron Brew. It's like a full hand, I'm going, guys, you know, it's Danny McGrain, right? But then it was because Danny been dying, and I'm going, just to give him sugar, but I'll tell you what a machine, what a trainer, what a guy you have in the dressing room, and you're like, you're playing with this guy, you know, he's played at top, everything, you know. And
could you believe the way he played? I mean, I try and relay to people nowadays, Danny McGrain could beat anyone straight, ball dead at his feet.
Danny just, you know, swinging the ball, you know, Danny knew how to take up, but he was so strong on the ball, and he protected the ball. And see, as soon as it broke down, the first thing Danny done, poof, right back in, you know. He just knew he had this mentality, this, you know, then he wanted to get the ball again. It wasn't just a case of, I need a breather. Give it again, he'd be away again, you know.
Yeah.
But it was right good third play, you know, he could play, you know, and he could pass the ball. I know he didn't score many goals, but many.
9.
Many, was that fair? I was going to say 2. But anyway, but it was great for the dressing room, great for the boys, the younger boys coming through. You know, I was one of the older ones, but I was still, I loved Danny McGrain, I loved it.
Yeah. What age were you?
I was, I left Clydebank then, I was about 20, I was just about 30, yeah.
Yeah. So you've got McGrain, you've got George McCluskey, who could literally, I kid you not, beat anybody, as the old statement goes, he could beat anybody with a beach ball and a telephone box.
Yeah, exactly, Peter. We played a game against Carlisle. Carlisle were up for a pre-season, right? So Big Toby, he's not in the game, and he gets the ball outside the box. And he goes like to shoot, and he feints, and he goes like again, and the guy dived again, he rolled it through his legs, and he dinked it at the keeper, and it chipped it at the keeper, right? And we're all like, oh, clapping, brilliant, what a goal. 5 minutes later, he'd done the exact same, right?
The exact same goal?
The exact same goal, honestly, he'd done the same, not made the guy, dinked the keeper. Keeper says, I'm only in trial here, pal, I'm only in trial. I don't think I'll get a chance to sign in for that. He says, you've just done me in, pal. Big Toby says, I'm sorry about that, didn't I? I'm sorry. But it was, you know,
worst nightmare.
Oh, it was just, he didn't want to dive in, he just to be Megs and that. But I think all the players at the time, Jamie Fairley, you know, Jamie, remember he got a bad leg break before he was going to Aberdeen, and you know, the middle of the park we had, you know, we Alberts, we had goals, we had characters, you know, we had Big Willie Jimison at back, Kevin McKean.
Yeah.
You know,
I was going to say to you, the one great thing about it, and you talk about wind-ups and we talked about Tony Higgins, but if you've got a great dressing room full of characters, it makes you want to fight for them.
That's it. You're right. And that's what John Lambie was good. John had, you know, although he would noise people up, he'd do things at training and he'd say things like, well, what's going on here, you know, and Big Toby and McCubbers used to change, I do it this way and that, and he'd come in and go like, what he's doing? I would say, that way you set it up, Gaffer, it wasn't working, it was just, this is the way I tell you do anyway, you know.
With 55 expletives in there. He's only got, he could swear for Scotland, couldn't he?
He just, but you know something, he would look after, he had this thing about, you know, when he came in, and he liked boys that, Big Warswell God rest him, you know.
Yeah.
He loved guys like, you know, guys that had a bit of mischief in them, and, you know, they all did, and a wee bit, you know, off the wall and that, you know, he could mix with people like he didn't get in and roll with an iron hand, said you can't do this, you can't do that. You know, he had this sort of a soft spot for these guys. You know?
How did the NSL come about? I mean, what was there a moment in your life after Hamilton where you're looking, you're saying to yourself, well, maybe I've got a couple of moves in. You've got Dumbarton on loan, you've got maybe gone back to Clyde, but
yeah, I went back to Clyde under John Clark, you know, and I went back because of the boss, and we stayed up that season. We had a season we were down at the bottom, and we to beat St John's last game of the season.
Yeah.
And I'd scored, made it one each, but we needed to win, and we got a penalty kick right in the last kick of the ball. Right, we were playing at Farhill at the time. Yeah. Because if you go down to the next division, you're like, oh God, what are we doing here? And we, Colin McGlashan scored, and John Clark came running on the park before he took it. We need to score this. If we don't score this, we're down.
He's on the park?
Aye, because Kilmarnock had beat Queen of the South. I think Willie Waters had scored about 5 down at Queen of the South, and they'd won 6-0, so we had to win, or we were down, and we stayed up. But I love it. Going back there, it was good. Probably not as good as my first spell there. Yeah. But then I says, right, I've come back and we've stayed up. But John told me a story in this way. When I went back, Peter, the day I signed with Hibs, right? I don't know if I've mentioned this. The day I signed with Hibs, I was going to shoot to sign with Hibs, and I was with Paul Clement Juniors at the time. And I was looking for, I didn't have an agent, didn't have an agent, wasn't agents at the time, and I was looking for an experienced player to go through. It was like the wee boy Tommy Coggle was talking about. Yeah. I says, I need somebody who, I don't know, I've never done this. But the committee, Paul Clement, they says, oh, you'll be fine, we'll take you through, blah, blah, blah. So everyone will be all right, we'll pick you up. So my dad said to me before I left, he says, remember, don't be signing anything, right? Because I was going out and trial with Celtic the next night at Fir Park. And I said, don't you be signing it? I said, no, I'm just going to, Dad, I'm just courtesy and all that. So anyway, so we're up talking, and Eddie Thomas came out of the class. I says, like, I want to play the last 3 games with the juniors, Paul Kemmick, because we'll get a chance to win the league.
Yeah.
And he goes like, he goes like, all right, okay, right. Well, you want to just sign the forms? I'll put them in the safe, and you know, you'll get. The boys are saying, don't worry, we'll win the league now. We're nearly there. And then you'll get your winners' medal and all this. And he says, you better just sign this. This is your chance, concrete offer. So when I was outside, I'm on a bit, but there were no mobile phones.
I was going to say to you,
nothing. I couldn't phone. You know, I didn't have the house phone. So anyway, I guess back in, I was like, right, I've signed. So they're taking it back, it's a good move and all that, right. So I went back in, my dad's sitting in his big chair, he was sitting, and he just looked at me and goes, tell me you never signed? I said, I did, I signed. He said, well, you better get on the phone. He says, you better phone up John Clark. And we're on the phone, they were supposed to meet at 6:30 or something at Fir Park tomorrow night. Tell them you've signed. And he says like that. He says, you sure you've signed it? Is it all signed? Yeah. I'm going, aye. So I had to phone up, and John was great, and he was good about it. And he says, well, look, maybe another time, it might happen for you yet. And okay. Right, I says, a concrete offer, I didn't want it. I says, I might go and trial, and I might not do the business. I maybe, you know, fall flat in my face.
You could have been a Celtic player.
Well, but when I went back to semi-Clyde, when would that have been? That was 1990.
1988,
89, yeah. So I went back. So we're going to Benbeckler, a tournament. So we're up and we get on the boat. I think it was Mallaig, was it? We get a boat. And so I'm sitting talking to the gaffer, and I was talking to me. And he said, remember that time, yeah, you nearly signed, we were going to sign you, you went to sign with Hibs. I says, you know, I says, I thought at the right time I was doing the right thing. He says, well, we actually were signing you after the game. We had a contract. We just wanted to see you playing in a game. I'm sitting there and I goes,
thanks for that, gaffer.
No, and he goes like, should I have not told you that? I says, well, I'm sitting, I'm looking into the water. I'm saying, do I take a header here right into that water? And he says, I've just watched you, you know, and he goes like that. He said, but I never tell you that at the time, but I tell you now. And I goes, the only consolation, my dad wasn't here to hear that, because my dad says to me, I always wanted to see you playing the green and white, son, but you know, it was the hoops, it wasn't the hoops and that. But you know something, he never missed a reserve game when I was playing in the reserve. He travelled through everywhere.
Is that right?
Watched every game, aye.
Isn't it amazing how there are, every footballer or person that comes onto this programme, there's a sliding doors moment. There's a moment where you make a choice that can have a real bearing on where you go, whether it's predetermined or whatever. You know, you take a choice, takes you down a road.
That's it. Yeah, well, you're right, Peter, and I think that was it. But don't get me wrong, I loved Hibs because I met so many top players and good guys I still keep in touch with.
Yeah.
It was an experience. I was flitting about the first team when they were going to play in a Fair Six Cup, and there were a couple of players injured and I was getting called into the squad, but the players, they were available again. So in that sense, but you know, it's just one of the ones, and you say, sometimes you say your career's mapped out for you.
Yeah.
You know, and
what might have been.
But would I give up that, you know, for playing in the days football? They say financial awards are great now, but not for the memories and the players I've played alongside and played against and still keep in touch with.
Yeah.
No, you can't buy that, you know.
To be fair, and the greatest thing that probably you can't buy as well is I've never met anybody who's got a bad word to say about you. So that's a good sign. You know, there might be a few when you're about to tell me, because I'm about to finish on your coaching career. And when you tell players they're not playing or they're out, you know, their viewpoint on you changes.
Well, sometimes I was the man that had to go out and tell them. I say, you're the manager, you tell them, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I had a good rapport with, but that's how I liked, you know, I had to be spell management, you know, we done back and that, but I liked the side of being this, I liked in amongst the players and, you know, being that middleman myself with Jimmy Clark.
Did you not think you were cut out to be a manager?
See now, I would maybe get him managed, but then, no, I just felt I was more comfortable in the city being a number 2.
Well, I ask you that point because in Dumbarton, you know, sometimes I always remember Gordon Strachan saying, you know, when we're talking about managers, sometimes their fate can be determined by the players they have at their disposal.
Yeah.
And on that point, you know, he said to me, you look at Steve Clarke, and he said, Steve Clarke at West Brom with Romelu Lukaku on loan, they were talking about Steve Clarke as the next Chelsea manager.
Aye, that's right.
Romelu Lukaku goes back to his parent club Chelsea. They've no longer got a goal scorer. Steve Clarke's sacked by West Brom 6 months later.
Right,
and I give you Gerry McCabe, manager at Dumbarton. Stephen Dobie scores 10 out of 17 goals for you. Then he goes and then, you haven't got a goal scorer.
That's what Dobie would have stayed with us, would have been in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But we didn't. We tried to get him back after January, and to convince Dobbs, because we had Dobbs at Hibs and I knew he was capable, but he was sitting up a stand. I'm saying, just come and play. I know you're too good for this division, but get yourself back in the shop window. Goes back to St Johnstone, goes to Cooney South, and the rest is history. And but what a talent Dobbs was. He was just, he knew it himself. He was lazy, but he had to change his full attitude. He had to change his mentality. I don't think he realised Dobbs knew how good he was, ability-wise. But then when he got himself sorted out, he worked hard, and and he probably saying, "I wish I'd have done that when he was at Rangers.
Yes,
when he was at Hibs, he could have done that." But I think it's when you're saying that Gordon Strachan said that, it just shows you, you're right. It determines the players you've got.
Yeah, and with that in mind, then you become an assistant. For me, the perfect person in a dressing room, because managers sometimes need a buffer, and they need a contrasting buffer.
Yeah.
And you, for me, are a player's player.
Aye, I've always been. Well, I feel you're right, Peter. I think I was more comfortable.
Yeah.
I could give him a bit of banner. You'd top players, like they would fall out. You wouldn't fall out with you, but they'd moan at the next minute they're talking, because I've never held a grudge. I've had a go at a few players, as Tam would have told you, Tam McManus, but even when we went to Kilmarnock, we brought in a lot of good players. We brought in McCoy and Durant. Durant was the most crabbiest guy, moanest guy.
But what a partnership. You've got Bobby Williamson, who's got a dry sense of humour.
Yeah.
You've got you, that loves a bit of banter and can fire it out, and you're a fiery character. But also the players. I mean, if I looked at McCoy and Durant in a dressing room, and you and Bobby and everybody, that must have been a riot.
The dressing room was never down long. So you got bad result. Yes, after the postmortems and all this. But the Monday we used to get everybody going again. And with Jimmy Clark, Jimmy was a more serious one.
Yes.
And Jimmy was great. Jimmy was always a thinker. Jimmy was always all about thinking. Whereas Bobby would say something, I would be having a bit of banner, carry on with the players and whatnot. And as I was saying, you get in the morning, you say, "All right, Jasper, hey, what about you?" And you say, "I'm not saying hello again. I'm not saying good morning again." And about 2 hours later, I say, "You say, all right, KB." I spoke to you about 2 years ago. You just walked right by me, and he goes, "I was in a bad mood last night, a bad mood this morning, but I'm all right now." But they all knew, everybody knew each other so well, and they knew when to leave somebody, they knew when to ever go at somebody, they knew, but it was nothing. They all wanted to win, the great, all winners, and every club I've went to, Peter, I've had these players in there, great lads, you could fight with them, and, but it was never a grudge, and they would come up and talk to you, or I'd go back up and talk to them and say, "Look, it's nothing personal."
Yes.
They knew that,
What was the high at Kelly?
The high at Kelly? Well, when I first went in there, I says, it was a hard job. We were sitting bottom of the league, and Bobby says, "Come in, help us out." I had just signed with Shelton. Bobby goes, "You've signed with Shelton? You're 41. And I goes like that, "Aye, well, I still feel fit enough. You've got to come in here, help us out."
Yeah.
Clark and that, he says, "Look, I've got a chance at the job, we could maybe keep us up." So I went in there, that was the first season, stayed up, won the Scottish Cup, which was magnificent,
Yeah.
I loved my time at Kelly, I'd never knew much about Kelly, I just played against Kelly, whereas Clarkie was a Kelly man, Bobby played with Kelly.
Yeah.
I was a sort of odd man out, so to speak.
Outsider.
Aye, outsider. Yeah. But when you got to know the club and the people in the club and the people that run the club, Bill Costley was in charge, and Ian Welsh and Kevin Collins, all these guys, but they were all Kelly fans, they were all for the club, they're all, and they let you go in with it, they didn't interfere with the fitness side of it. And we got to a League Cup final, obviously, and the players that they brought in, we had a great group of players, and as you say, they make the dressing room, and they make you.
Who was in that team?
Well, you had Mark Riley, tremendous.
Great player.
Ali Mitchell, two of the fittest guys I've ever seen. You had Kevin McGowan, you had big Jimmy Loughlin, you had Jim McIntyre, Macca up front.
Yep.
Macca ended up going to Reading. You had, when we brought in Burke and Bacon for the youth, and they were a revelation. They came in, and Gary Hay, Canero, Chris Boyd, when they first come in, Bobby gave them his chance. Bobby gave all of them a chance.
Yeah.
You know, and they all went on to have right good careers.
Lloyd was a natural finisher, wasn't he?
Oh, I mean, Clarkey told me when he was 15, 16, Clarkey, watch this boy playing in the 16s, and he'll have off for about 35 years, 40 years, and they lifted the roof off the net, and I'm like, how could he do that? I mean, he's only 15, 16, but when we used to bring him on sub, he would have about 5 or 6 shots in 5 minutes, you know, in 10 minutes. He would hit the target or something like that. What a good, but then when Bobby went to Hibs, which wasn't a great move for us, you know, and I know because of the players that was there, our great fan base, it was, Rod Petrie didn't play ball with Bobby anyway. As soon as we walked in, to get rid of all these big players, Happy on, De La Cruz, John O'Neill couldn't play him because they were all big money, and somebody goes, well, who do we play?
Yeah.
Who did we play? We've not got a team.
Who did you end up, what did you build? What did you have?
Well, lucky, you had Scott Brown coming through, Kevin Thompson, Stephen Whitaker, Riordan, and these boys were flung in, and we were in a relegation. We were sort of down the bottom half of the league.
Yeah.
You know, but these guys, and Gary O'Connor, and it's just well we had them pair. And what I felt where Bobby was let down, you know, we lost the League Cup final to Livingston. Livingston were a more experienced side than us.
I'll never forget that final.
You know, Davy Hay was a man, but they had more experience than us. We, like say, the young boys, they were great when they came in, but we just didn't have that experience for these big, you know, going to Hampden, and they beat us 2-0, and I knew the writing was on the wall there, and I said to Bob on the way back to the club for a celebration, well, supposed to be a celebration, but meal and all that, and I said, you know the writing's on the wall, don't you? He goes, yeah, so I said, oh, aye. I says, we were favourites for the game, Pierre, because we had 30,000 Hibs fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
We didn't even hear that was it. But we'd a couple of wee chances and that, you know. And I felt with Bobby, whereas we left a great boardroom at Kilmarnock, we left great people there, you know, and a good squad of players. But Bobby felt we took them as far as we could. And I said, right, maybe you're right. It's a new challenge. But if we'd get more support through Hibs, if we'd more from the, you know, steady telling us we can only bring in free transfers, and we had these players. If we'd another couple of seasons to work with, like say the Brownies, the Kevin Thompsons and all that, it'd have been great.
Yeah.
But Bobby knew he was out in that. I says, well, look, and the thing that disappointed me when Mowbray took over, they were all saying Mowbray made these players into, they made these players, you know, players. And I says, well, I don't think so. I think these guys were always going to bigger, better things. They're always going to be, Ryden was always a great finisher.
Especially if you gave them their opportunity.
Well, that's what I felt. We never got a chance to, you know, take them to our next level, get the best out of them.
Yeah.
When I say best out of them, see them improve. We did see them improve, but we were no longer there. And I felt that Bobby didn't get the recognition, the praise for what he'd done because he was up against hurdles every day, financial restraints, getting top players out, trying to get players on big money out, and you know, and getting to a cup final, keeping the Hibs in the league and that. And I just felt that when Tony Mowbray came in, and obviously Tony was a good coach, manager, got the best out of them, but these guys were always going to go into bigger, better things. I felt anyway.
Yeah. And
I just wished that Bobby would be more appreciated. You know.
In your coaching, you've had many, you know, coaching jobs, the partnership with Bobby as well, and other people that have used your skills as an assistant manager. You mentioned that regret there. When you look back on your career, player and coach, any regrets? No, I can't really say. I did one week. I wish I'd have been able to play a higher level for a longer period of time. Although we played in the SPL, we played with Hampton there and Clydebank there, and as I say, the players I met, I just wish I'd have got a chance at a so-called bigger club to see what I could achieve. But on a whole, no, certainly not, Pierre. And two things I want to talk to you about before we finish. One of them, I'm going to put you on the spot again. But the great thing about you typify to me a generation of footballers, and the reason why I know that you won't contest this with me is a generation of footballers who absolutely love the game. And I always say, you know, they say to me, what's it like playing with these guys now? And I say, well, I could go and chap Gerry McCabe's door and say, we've got a game 50 miles away, are you in? And you'd go, aye, okay, we're in. Yeah. And then we'd all steam into the car and we'd go.
That's it.
Isn't it amazing how even now playing five-a-sides, you're still playing 11s, which is a great testament to you. The love of the game never diminishes.
Never. You're right, Peter. I look forward to the games, the sixes. You get a wee text and that. If you don't get a text, I'm saying, I wonder if they're getting me today. What are they getting this week? Am I left out? Well, that was that bad last week, But even the Dukla, getting brought in and playing over 35 league, over 35, we were still playing over 50 odds. But it sounded better over 35. Yeah, it was great. I look forward to every weekend, looking forward to the games, and you're right. All these guys, and they all look forward to it. They couldn't wait.
Is that because you hold on to the drug of the dressing room?
Yes, exactly, Peter. That's the thing. The biggest thing I miss is in there walking in the morning and somebody having a pop you right away.
The banter.
I just slaughtering you right away and if I go to and because I was always into Barcelona talking about Messi.
Yeah.
The boys used to say, what about Barca last night came in? I go, oh, brilliant. So I'll be doing the warm up. Right, I'd be still talking for about 15 minutes, because the boys, they knew and they were saying, did you see that bit in the game? Did you see Messi? What about Messi? And I'm going, I know. I says, what about that? How is that? And the floor at 50, the boys are sniffing up again. They're always standing going like that, as if they, and somebody I would look here, even Jimmy Dumfell and Jimmy go like, KB, any chance of getting them warmed up? Oh, right. But they done it deliberately, because he knew I would just go away and one,
And the last point to finish, and it's been an absolute joy, the hour has just flown in.
Great,
for me, is something out of left field that we do on Straight Talk. It's going to be tough for you. You've picked a five-a-side team that there's a few boys will be delighted. But I'm now giving you the option that we do to all our guests here is you're in a car, you're driving, and you've got to pick three people from days gone by, living or dead, entertainment world, movie star, politician, or people from your football career. You've got to pick, male or female.
Right.
You've got to pick three people that are in that car with you on a journey. Let's just say you're down the west coast of America, you're going on Route 66, you want to have a laugh, you want to stop for a few beers, you want to enjoy it. Give me your three.
Oh, Peter. Right. I'm going to go, first of all, I'd love to be sitting next to Maradona.
Yes.
Maradona's one.
Right. This is already an interesting car.
This is.
You're going to be stopped a couple of times by the state troopers.
Andy McLaren's no one of them. Put it that way, right? A singer. I'd going to go for a singer.
Yep. This is interesting.
I'd love to be in a car with Dean Martin.
Right, okay.
Dean Martin,
So we've got Dean Martin, we've got Maradona, you're driving, so there's a singer, and then there's somebody who has to listen to you tell him that you were the same type of player as him. And then your last choice.
My last choice, I've got to bring a bit of glamour in it, innit?
Yes.
So, I can't pick another singer, she's a singer, but an actress. I'm going to go for Sandra Bullock.
Yes?
Yes, I like Sandra Bullock as an actress. Loved her as an actress. I could have brought Streisand in there because I love her singing.
Yeah.
But Sandra Bullock. So you've got Sandra Bullock, Maradona and Dean Martin.
It's not a bad car, is it?
Dean probably be sitting out with Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, absolutely.
Still driving, eh?
And Maradona would be...
I don't know what he'd be doing. He'd have windy down. Look at yourself in the mirror.
It's an interesting car. That's,
you caught me with that one.
Yeah.
I'll probably get driving him saying, oh, should I say that?
No. By the time people know that they're not in your five-a-side team, that's all you've got to worry about. Gerry, it's been an absolute joy. We could probably do another hour on, coaching stories with other players and the joy of the teams you played with and the managers as well. It's easily, an enjoyable hour. Gerry McCabe, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you. Pleasure.